Welcome back to the channel, SD fans. Closed circuit rebreathers, or CCRs. These are undoubtedly cool pieces of kit. Maybe you dive one yourself already, but if not, most of us will have seen divers on CCRs at our local sites or on dive boats with us. They look daunting, complicated pieces of kit, and they do require a particular mindset to dive them safely. But are they as dangerous as some people make out? In this video, I'll give you an overview of CCRs and why they might or might not be for you. If you haven't been here before, my name's Mark, I'm the Editor-in-Chief of the Scuba Diver media brand, and welcome to the Scuba Diver YouTube channel. Before we get started, take 2 seconds, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our future videos, and ring that bell so you get notification of the latest releases. And if you can't understand my dulcet Yorkshire accent, you can even bring up subtitles. Everyone loves something for nothing, right? Check out the description below for all sorts of goodies, like a free digital subscription to any of our 3 magazines. Now, let's dive into the video. I'm always a bit dubious when a piece of diving equipment warns you in no uncertain terms that diving it without the proper training will lead to your death. But that is just what you find emblazoned across most closed circuit rebreathers. Some in a more in-your-face fashion than others. Add to this the sad fact that many of the diving fatalities I have had to write about over the years have involved CCRs, including long-time scuba diver contributor and friend Gavin Anderson, who tragically died while diving his rebreather off Scotland. Combined, this was enough to have me steer clear of CCRs. I may have been diving for over 35 years and have thousands of dives, but I just didn't feel that going the CCR route was right for me, although I could see several massive advantages when it came to underwater photography in particular. No noise, no bubbles, and extended dive times. However, over the years, technology has been steadily advancing, and there are more and more CCRs coming onto the market. And I finally succumbed, qualifying first on the Poseidon Mark 6 CCR and then the Hollis Explorer E SCR. Both units had their plus points, but both also had their negatives. Neither had enough allure to draw me away from my trusty open circuit rigs. I've literally just had a try dive on a Hollis Prism 2 CCR, which has been around for several years, but is now hitting the UK market hard as it's finally received its CE approval. I have to say, using this unit was an eye-opener, and with its compact size, sheer water computer and very low worker breathing, it was a very pleasant experience. However, the price point of several £1,000s is wince-inducing, until you factor in the ever-increasing cost of mixed gases. But more on that later. Let's go back to CCRs and the dangers connected with them. I've heard it said many times to me that some of the best CCR divers are actually people with little open circuit experience. They have not got into the habits and muscle memory of open circuit diving, so don't have anything to unlearn before they start to learn how to dive a CCR. You really are back to being a beginner again when you move on to a CCR, regardless of how many recreational and technical open circuit dives you have done. And sadly, many fatalities are people who are trying to run before they can walk, so to speak. You need to slowly increase your depth as your time on your unit increases. But alas, many charge straight into thinking they can dive a CCR to the depths they were doing on open circuit before. Diving on a CCR is vastly different to diving on open circuit. Perhaps the biggest difference between the two is buoyancy control. As an open circuit diver, once we are neutrally buoyant, we can go up and down by breathing in and out. After years of open circuit diving, this becomes a very natural thing to do. However, this all goes completely out the window once you move on to a CCR. Breathing in and out makes absolutely zero difference to your buoyancy, as the gas is either in the breathing loop, that is in your counter lungs, or it's in your lungs. Cue lots of swearing when you first start diving on a CCR as you continually crash into the seabed or swim into a rock as your ingrained habit of breathing in to arrest your descent or to rise up over an obstacle makes absolutely no difference. You soon start to get to grips with remembering to use your wing and or dry suit to control your buoyancy, but as soon as you begin to relax that little bit, that muscle memory comes back into play and the swearing starts all over again. This alone can take several dives to master CCR buoyancy. On top of that, you have to be bang on your game monitoring what gas mix is in your breathing loop. Yes, the CCR will have oxygen sensors and maybe even carbon dioxide sensors, depending on the model, but you still need to be monitoring what the computer is showing you on its display. When diving a CCR, the gas you are breathing can kill you if the partial pressure of oxygen in the gas is too high, or if it's too low, or if the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is too high. Your CCR should give you a warning on the computer screen and on the heads-up display, but you also have to notice and react to these warnings. On my trip to Scapa Flow, when I was diving on the Hollis Explorer, there was a chap on board who was diving a complex technical CCR, and he routinely went into the water with it flashing red, warning lights and bleeping away. When your unit is doing its level best to tell you not to dive, maybe it's a good idea to stay on the boat. In fact, the statistics show that the vast majority of CCR deaths are down to human error, not a problem with the rebreather itself. Take checklists for example. On both my rebreather courses, we referred to a checklist every single time we built up the unit to ensure that everything had been correctly configured and confirmed. When I did the try dive on the Prism 2, we ran through a checklist step by step. And even people who had been diving the unit for more than 8 years said they still use the checklist during preparation. It is better to be safe than sorry. You only need to miss one single thing and it could be potentially fatal. Yet I've witnessed people prepping their CCRs and going diving without a checklist in sight. At the end of the day, it's all down to personal choice. But given many deaths are down to the oxygen cylinder not being turned on, or the scrubber not being correctly fitted, and other elementary mistakes that would have been picked up and dealt with when using a checklist, is it really worth the risk? So, if CCRs are this complicated and require this much effort and concentration to dive them, why would you go down that route? Well, there are many reasons people opt to dive CCRs. Photographers and videographers love the fact that CCRs are completely silent, so you can closely approach your marine life subjects without spooking them. And the vastly extended bottom time means you can spend longer getting those perfect shots or footage. However, the big winners with CCRs are technical divers. Closed circuit rebreathers allow tech divers to make deep, complex dives in open water and in overhead environments like caves and wrecks, which would just not be logistically possible on open circuit due to the level of gas demand. And with the ever rising cost of mixed gases, a CCR can essentially pay for itself within the space of a dozen or so dives, as you use a fraction of the gas you would on open circuit. So that initial purchase price does not seem so out of the world. I would say this, if you are tempted to go down the closed circuit rebreather route, take your time and look at all the different models on the market. Talk to instructors on the different units, get their take on things, and then once you've narrowed down your selection somewhat, go for try dives to see what they are like in the water for yourself. It may well be at this point you decide that a rebreather is not for you, or you may just be bitten by the bug. Just remember, learning to safely dive CCRs needs extensive training, and while you are diving on one, you need to be constantly vigilant monitoring the gas in your breathing loop. More so, you need to be prepared for the more intensive regime of cleaning and preparation that is needed both before and after a dive on a CCR. If you have the right mindset and commit to the strict routines required to dive them safely, CCRs can open up a whole new world to you. If you are not the sort of person to be absolutely fastidious in your preparations and cleaning regimes, or willing to accept you're essentially going to be a beginner again when you first start out, I'd suggest that CCRs are not for you and to stick with open circuit. Do you dive a CCR? Why did you opt to go down this route? Or are you just considering going closed circuit? And why? Leave your comments below, and if you've got a question, fire away. Because if we can't answer it, maybe someone in our ever-growing community will be able to. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out our ever-growing playlist for more educational and inspirational videos. As always, stay safe, and if you're going diving, on open circuit or on a CCR, enjoy!